Hello and welcome to another episode of Rich Pierce Life's Adventures. Today, in this episode, we're going to be starting to take the roof lining down, ready for cleaning, sound deadening, insulation and sealing up the aerial. As we all know, the crafters, the sprinters and things like that, they've all got a synonymous problem with the aerial leaking into the interior light. Now I haven't got that issue yet, but I'm going to do that whilst I've got it all stripped out. Also, we're going to be doing a shelf. Now I've seen a lot of people, they put a shelf along here using brackets off the grab handles and so on and so forth. Now there's nothing wrong with that method. I would just like to keep it a little bit more factory looking. Now someone gave me a little bit of a tip off. Now he was unsure whether this would work, as to I'm unsure whether it will work or not. But the idea I've got, and the idea this other chap gave me, so I didn't come up with it. I can't remember his name now, but anyway, he suggested to me buying a low roof headlining. So I've been and bought a low roof headlining. Now I tracked this chap down on eBay. This other chap, he does fiberglass roof linings for ambulances and so on. So he takes brand new roof linings down, and he managed to sell me a roof lining on eBay for a very good price. Now unfortunately I did have to travel quite a distance for it, but I tied it in with going to fetch some water tanks and various other things on a little road trip. So my idea is I take this high roof lining down, I clean it all, sound deaden it, seal up the aerial, insulate it. I'll then put the low roof lining in. I'll make a template for a shelf, make brackets for the shelf so it sits on top of the roof lining, so from the underside it'll look factory. Then what I'm hoping to do is put this high roof lining back in and trim it so it sits just on top of the shelf, so when you look in there you see this nice carpeted finish and it'll all look factory. This is my plan. But anyway, the tools we need today are a T30 Torx star drive, multi-bit, whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but the proper name is a Torx bit. So it's T30, trim tool, flat-ended screwdriver or plastic trim tool or anything like that, and a T50 Torx bit star drive, again whatever you want to call it. So the T30 Torx, they'll undo the brackets around the proper shelf, the little glove box shelf, I don't really know what you want to call it, could be shelves. The little screwdriver, you just unhook one side, the driver's side, you unhook down front and back, and then it slips out of the passenger side. It's got like little hooks that go into the roof lining, then that drops down, you just unplug it. Then on these like coat hooks, you slip the little rubber hook cover off, and there's some T30 Torx behind there. Your pig's foot trim tool, this gubbins, you get that down behind the trim, and there's some little plastic pop studs, so you just pop them out, and then these B pillar trims come off. The A pillar trims will come off, and then it looks to me like there's some clips under here which you'd use that trim tool for that as well. Now the T50 Torx bit, that's to undo the seat belt, so they'll slip through the B post trims. So I'll take them tightly off and out of the way, because I ain't sure how soon I'm going to be putting them back. So I'll get the trims tightly off, put the seat belts on again, and I'll just run it for a little while without any trim. So let's get started. There you go, look. That's just a little rubber hook. It's just squishy rubber, and underneath there you got a T30 Torx, and the same on this side. That's it, you sort of lift it out and up. So let's get these undone. Don't forget to put the little hook back on with the screw when you put it back on. The other one. Okay, so you just unclip the visor, swing it out the way. Right, so I've got the roof lining down. I thought it was recording me taking it down, but it wasn't. I've realised it's actually already got sound deadening on, but I'm going to add some more because that's a big old chunk of metal and it still seems a bit tinny if it is to rain. So I'm going to put full sheet here and a full sheet here. Look at that, definitely needs cleaning. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to try the low roof lining in. It looks to me like someone's had this aerial apart because I think the wire should go through the middle of that nut and then out the slot this end, hence why the slot goes all the way to the end. I don't know, I've always done it so that it comes out the end. So I'm hoping I can undo the wire, thread it through the nut, and then it'll come out the bottom as it should. It looks, it's coming out the nut too early, if you know what I mean, before the nut. I don't know if that's how it's meant to be from factory, I don't know. But anyway, I'll look into that when I take the aerial off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try the roof lining in and see what it looks like. Whew, out of breath doing that on your own is not easy. Right, so let me pull you down, look. So that'll keep it nice and factory looking. Makes it nice and clean, doesn't it? It's proper. And then that still gives a decent amount of cupboard space. I don't really know where to attach. So I've got to make a wooden shelf. So I might come off these brackets like most people do, but it'd be on the inside. Little L-shaped bracket and then a slightly longer one that side to come up. And same that side. And then I can come off that front brace to support the front centre. You'd probably put a rib nut in that hole and put an L bracket on there, I don't know. But then that will support the shelf that goes along there. And then once I've got the shelf in, I'll four-way stretch carpet the shelf, and then I'll put the high roof lining back in with it trimmed to the height of the shelf, so it all looks pucker, it all looks factory. I might even put a reinforcing bit of wood at the bottom there underneath the shelf, because obviously that, if you look, I don't know if you can see it, that's higher. So if I pack that out with a bit of wood, I can drill holes where these clips go, not in the liner but in the wood, and then when I put the clips in, they'll pop into the wood and hold it nice and neat. Plus when I put my face on the front, it'll give me something to screw into. So I hope this is all making sense and it's not just a bunch of gibberish. I'm not really keeping an eye on what I'm doing with the camera, I'm just wanging it around and hopefully you're getting a good shot. So I've got to drop it down again, give it all a clean and sound deaden it. But all the bolt holes line up, all the trims line up, so I'm really happy with that. Right, so I've devised this bracket system. Basically it's aluminium angle. I did try screwing it, but the steel is so thin there really wasn't enough meat there to bite onto, so I decided to pot rivet the L-shaped bracket to the side of the van. It sits on this underside lip here, but I'm also going to devise a bracket that comes off there and then screws into this, like another L-shaped bracket, just to support this end so it don't bounce about. Done the same that side, if you can see it, the light's the wrong way. Right, I've also, just grab this, I've also devised this bracket, bent it to all the particular angles. Now I can't go in that hole there. I was going to put a riv nut in there, but then that would line the bracket up with that, and what I've done, I'll show you in a second, but that I'll riv nut in there. Sorry, the wind's just blowing the door shut. I'll riv nut that bracket in there, and then the wood will sit on top of that and just support that front of the upper shelf. Right, let me show you what I've done so far. I've made several cardboard templates, and I've come up with this shape of the wood. I've cut a little notch in there in case I need to get to the aerial again at any point, because I can still pop the interior light out, go through there to the aerial. What I've got to do now is trim the back of the wood down to the right depth. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop it all back in just to get the correct depth of the shelf, and I'll trim that down. I think I measured right from the front to the back, it must be 77 centimetres, but I'm going to try and stand it away from the front of the van a bit. I don't want it touching, I don't want it squeaking, rattling, chafing on the van. And then once I've got the shelf all cut to shape, I'm then going to insulate it, vapour barrier it, then it's a case of putting it all back in. So catch you in a sec. Right. It doesn't have to sit perfect around there, around the, if you can see, let me see the camera. Right, it doesn't have to sit perfect around there, because the other roof lining that I'm going to put in there will section it off anyway. Right, so let's get started on making some marks. I've just put a little mark there, a little mark there. I'll draw a line across and I know where then to cut it. I've brought that back from that edge by a couple of mil. I don't want it squeaking and rattling against the front of the van. Yeah, and then I'll get on with the brackets. Let me just show you this bracket. That bracket then will sit like that. I'll riv nut it to this. I'll drill a hole and riv nut it to there. That'll bolt on, and then I'll screw it up to that shelf. Like I said, I can use that one. It'd have been nice, but it's right where that aerial goes, so I'll have to do it just to the side of it, and that'll hold it nice and sturdy. And when the roof lining goes on, you won't see it. Okay, that's right, it's not plugged in. So what I've done is I've measured to the edge of my saw blade 30 mil. And what I've done, where the mark is, I sat my fence back 30mm, and as long as I keep that saw along that pattern, that will cut exactly on that line. I've done the same on the other end. So here we go, let's get cutting. Give it a quick sand down. See just the edge of the black mark there, just the edge of the black mark there. So that little trick of using a batten of wood with the gun, well, that's much easier to handle. Now it's smaller. Right. Pull that into place. Pull that into place. Yeah, I think you all get the gist of what I'm trying to achieve. Let's mark that. So I've marked where it wants to be. I'll dot punch in there. Well, that does, it puts a dimple in it so your drill bit don't skid around. Now I've got to be very careful here that I don't suddenly belt through. Knowing my luck, I will. That's that. So back with my trusty riv nut gun again. Wind the riv nut onto the doohickey. And she's Ember. Now, did you see that I banged that in place? Because the riv nuts are hexagon shape, I didn't want to do the drill bit exactly the same size as the biggest bit of the hexagon. I want it to sort of cut them hexagon bits in it as well, so it gives a resistance to it turning. So you always go about 1mm smaller than it should be. So you measure it, I think it measured up as 11mm, 12mm, and then you go the next size down. And what that does then, when you bash it in, it makes that hole slightly hexagon shape. Right, one thing I did forget was my washer. Hold on. Now, I'm not going to bother painting the bracket, it's all zinc paint coated anyway. Stainless steel nuts and bolts, so I should just leave it as it is. It gets covered up anyway. Alright, just get an Allen key, back again with the Allen key. just rotate them around. That's it. And then what I'll do then is when I finally put it in, I'll put a couple of screws in, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 screws in there, just to hold it in place. Now I've got to come up with something for, I did have some brackets around this somewhere. There we go. So I was thinking something like that, just to screw that into the side of the bracket. And I might not even secure it to this, I might just like put some sticker flex or something there, let it sit on there, so it's got a bit of movement but not a lot. Right, so I started insulating. This is the Dial Recycle plastic bottle stuff from B&Q. I'll pop a link in to below, and this is what it looks like. Anyway, the secret is, don't cram it in there so it's ever so tight, it's got to be loose. So you could keep going and putting loads in, but you don't want it so it's compacted. You want it so that it feels loose in there still. You've got to trap as much air in there as possible to get the best thermal properties out of it. If you rammed it in there tight, you won't trap any air in there, and it'll only be as fraction as efficient as it could be. So you sort of put it up to where it wants to be, or down to where it wants to be, and just sort of let it spring back. This stuff, once it's fully expanded, I think it says it's 100mm, so you need it to be that 100mm for it to be its best properties. So that's that. I don't want to put any more in there. You can see it's still got a nice amount of spring, and that's that. Same with that, that's not overly rammed in there, that's still nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to foil tape over these bits, and then I'll vapor barrier over that with the Reflectix. So where did I put my tape? Try and get some in this bit if I can. Yeah. There we go. What I'm trying to do is push it along. All you got to do is just keep tearing little bits off, keep poking it in there, and as you see it moves it along. You got to try and do it with remembering not to pack it in there, if you know what I mean. It's got to be loose in there. I think that's as much as I can get in there from that hole. the other episode I said that this dial tape was no good, but this one seems to be okay. Whether I just had a bad batch of it, I don't know. Yeah, look, I'm going to try and get it as much along here as I can. If you can you see what I'm doing? Got to try and get it as long here as much as I can. So I've just laid the tall one over the short one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it where the two meet. Hopefully that shouldn't be too far from where it wants cutting. I think I'll need to trim a little bit more off, but it'll give me a rough start point. There we go, no turning back now. Right, I'll just cut it with a jigsaw. Hopefully that'll fit a treat. If not, I might have to, because obviously when I put that on top of the shorter one, it's not sitting exactly level, so it will be slightly higher, so I might have to cut 10-15 mil off around the edge just for it to sit down a little bit. Plus I've got the thickness of the shelf, so I don't doubt I ain't got to trim it a bit more, but we'll give it a go. Right, so there we have it. I've put it in. Now I don't know if it's the thickness of the insulation that's behind it, but it's a bit tight going back, or whether it's the fact that it needs trimming down. I think it wants a few mil off. Probably bring it to the height of this bit, so literally 3-4 mil. So I might just trim a little section off, because the shelf is being pulled down. At this point it's bowing it, but like I said, I ain't sure whether that's just the thickness of the insulation, because I can't get it forward any more than that. So I've got a feeling it's just the insulation. I might have to do something with that. Might take it out again and make it a bit thinner. Okay, so I ripped all the plastic recycle stuff that I had in the top section and put some Celotex up there. It's a bit more difficult to form it around all the shapes and so on, but I think I've got a good vapor barrier going back on there. I left the recycled wool back in the corners there because they weren't really influencing it. I'll push the shelf forward. So now it sits nice and neat up there, and then I'll pop the shelf in, the high roof headliner, and just show you what it looks like there. So that's it with the high roof headlining in. Again, it sits quite nice and neat, even in the corners and so on. I think once that shelf's carpeted, it'll look all right, because it'll fluff up and fill any little, I mean, some of that black mark that you can see there is actually my Sharpie pen mark. It's not where it's a gap. That feels quite nice. I've cut this insulation back because I'm going to put the front face up in there, and then my roofing will go up to the face then and give it a nice clean edge. Regards down there, I'm going to see if I can get some more recycled wool shoved down there. Just see what I can do with that, and the same down that side. Just see if I can shove some down there. I might even see if I can slide the shelf back and get some so it's behind here. Just shove it up there as much as I can. Only little bits. Obviously I don't want it to stress the shelf or the headliner, but if I can get a little bit in there, it'll make a hell of a difference with the insulation. So unfortunately I can't really do a lot now until I get my carpet. Hopefully that'll come in the next few days. So there we have it, guys. All installed, insulated, vapor barriered. I put some more insulation over the top of the vapor barrier as well, just crammed it in there. Didn't compact it too much, it's still got plenty of bounce in it. Tried getting a bit more in there. I've clipped it all into this. I force and a bit drilled to relieve some room for the clip to go into, plus I drilled a hole for the actual clip to go into, if you know what I mean. So I did it on time lapse, just to keep the noise out from the neighbours that were mowing the lawn and stuff like that. So I'm very happy with the results. Carpet came this morning. I ordered silver thinking it'd be a really close match. It's not too bad, but you know, it's more of a grey that I wanted, but silver's good enough. And like I said, you won't really see this once I've got my face on there, and a little cupboard hatch as well. All that will come in a future video. This was just to show you how I did it. It's been quite a lengthy video. One thing is I've noticed is the B-post trims for the low roof are different. Basically the angle here, because it's not going up there, the flare out on the top of the trim is steeper. So anyone with some low roof, short wheelbase or pickup truck, Sprinter or Crafter B-post trims, if you've got some and you want to sell some, hit me up and I'll buy some off you, or if you know anywhere I can get some. Yeah, so I think you'll agree that looks nice and professional. I couldn't be more happier with the results. It's all screwed in, it's not going anywhere, absolutely solid. So guys, thanks for watching. Sorry it's been such a lengthy video, but I wanted to show as much detail as I could without it getting too lengthy, but unfortunately it's run away with itself. If there's anything I've missed and you want to ask any questions, please put the question below and I'll try and get back to you. My video angle techniques are not quite been mastered yet, so forgive me if I've missed anything that you wanted to see. The chap that put me onto the idea, I couldn't remember the name when I first started. His name is Robert Deacon. He's on the Craft Camper group on Facebook, and I asked for templates for a conventional shelf, and he basically said he come up with this idea of putting a low roof, headlining in, and putting the shelf above it. Now I thought that was a great idea, so you don't see no brackets, no nothing. So I set about finding the roof lining and found one. That's quite a difficult thing in itself. Like I said, I'm still after the B-post trims because they are different, which I didn't realise at the time. But yeah, thanks a lot guys. Like I said, ask me any questions and I'll try and give you the answers if I can. And sorry it's been lengthy again, but thanks for watching. If you like what you've seen, please like, please subscribe, and please share. If you really feel like it, hit that little bell icon. You'll get to see all my future videos. Now 70% of the people watching this video right now are not subscribed. Please get subscribing and click that bell icon. It'll help me out. And then if you also pop a link in the description of anything you want to see in more detail, and I'll do my best to do more detail and more in-depth videos. Thanks very much. Bye.